Welcome friends. This is my list of computer RPGs slated for release sometime in 2022. Warhammer 40k Chaos Gate Daemonhunters promises a Warhammer 40k infused turn-based tactics meets strategy game experience in which you'll be leading a group of Grey Knights on their mission to cleanse a sector of the galaxy from a disease created by the chaos god Nurgle. The Grey Knights are a Space Marine chapter made up entirely of psykers. They were made by the Emperor himself out of his own gene seed during the Horus Heresy with the sole purpose of fighting demon incursions into material space. The main layer of the game will revolve around rapid turn-based tactical combat which will not rely on chance to hit as its source of success or failure. You will always know how much damage your Grey Knights will deal, hence combat is going to boil down to your choice of tactics and ability use. The game will also feature destroyable environment, which is something I am happy to see more of in turn-based tactics games. The other part of the game is a strategic management layer in which you'll have to repair your strike cruiser, invest in researching abilities, upgrading your troops and making decisions as to which planets or systems get saved and which do not. This sounds like a not real-time Dawn of War 2, and when you add in the lack of missing 99% point-blank attacks, you can bet this is high on my list of things to play this year. And if you're interested in other Warhammer 40k video games, there is a useful playlist for you in the description. Urban Strife has been in development for several years and it seems poised to be released in 2022. It is a post-apocalyptic survival turn-based tactics game focused on the survivors of a zombie apocalypse that happened 2 years ago. Besides fighting zombies, there will be other potentially hostile human factions to deal with, as well as several survival mechanics to keep track of. The game's story and world promises to be heavily influenced by your decisions, and it also appears to have a mild base building aspect to it as well, so there is lots of things to like. And for those interested, the game will come with mod support as well. All of these factors place it high on my list of interests for 2022. Alaloth, Champions of the Four Kingdoms, has been a title that's been going around the general indie RPG community for a bunch of years. It's been delayed several times, but it seems that it might actually get released this year. At first glance, it looks like an isometric action RPG, which isn't usually my thing. I prefer turn-based combat. However, the combat is described by the devs as being skill-based and Souls-like, which makes this title highly more interesting for yours truly, considering my affection for Silver and how much I thoroughly enjoyed Mortal Shell. And if you want more on those titles, you can find a link to my video on Silver in the description. Lost Eidolons or Eidolons seems to be a pretty cut and dry turn-based tactics offer, focusing on very polished 3D animation and high difficulty as its main selling points. In order to spotlight the 3D graphics, it seems that all the attacks always go into a cinematic camera mode, which doesn't look bad, but I wonder if it's gonna become tiring, like the cinematic camera does in the latter Heroes titles. There also seems to be a relationship layer to the game, so the vibe I'm getting is of a segmented sort of Dragon Age Origins, and much like that title, what will make or break this one will be how interesting the story and characters are, as well as how much agency you will have to affect both of those things. Wartales from Shiro Games looks like a 3D version of Battle Brothers. You're in charge of a band of mercenaries trying to survive and thrive in a medieval fantasy world, picking up bounties, doing various jobs, and upgrading and enhancing your troop and camp. The game went into early access at the beginning of December 2021, and at least according to the Steam reviews, it's doing real well. The developers have a clear roadmap for the first quarter of 2022, with the rest of the features being added after that. In case they planned an entire year for early access, then we can expect the game to be fully released at the end of 2022. I say this because Shiro Games also developed Northgard, which I covered back in 2017, and that game was in early access for a year. You can find the video in the description. Citizen Sleeper is possibly the most unique entry on this list, an interactive narrative RPG where you play as a digitized human consciousness inside an artificial body. Basically a ghost in a shell, who has to survive on a somewhat derelict space station at the edge of interstellar society. Besides the interactive narrative aspect, the game also relies heavily on tabletop mechanics such as dice and timers. But while text is important, the art style is likewise interesting and thematic. Anyone who's been watching my channel for a longer period of time will know how big of a mark I am for games such as Citizen Sleeper. So I am super looking forward to checking this one out. Jagged Alliance 3 makes me very cautiously optimistic / skeptical. The trailer looks good, the cinematic is pretty well made, and it seems it will have several of the features that characterized Jagged Alliance 2, namely an overmap strategic screen, as well as the in-game browser interface for mercenary employment. What gameplay footage we get looks like a visually improved version of the engine from Jagged Alliance Rage, which looked good and had pretty enjoyable combat, especially when it came to stealth takedowns. The game overall was disappointing in relation to what I wanted and expected from a Jagged Alliance title, and you can get more details on that via the link in the description. That being said, this one seems to add what was missing from Rage. Basically, what we really want is just Jagged Alliance 2, but in a 3D engine, and this looks like it might just get close to that. Arcadian Atlas has been in development for more than 5 years, and it seems like 2022 will be the year of release. It looks like a very solid pixel art JRPG experience. As you'd expect from such a title, it features turn-based combat, lots of class customization focusing on subclasses, and a very character-driven narrative which will intertwine with a much more epic scale plot taking place in a kingdom that is in the midst of a civil war. Must add that the voice acting and sound design in the trailer are pretty top notch. Suffice to say, if you liked something like Fell Seal and wanted more of that, then I think this is gonna fit the bill perfectly. SacriFire looks to blend 2D pixel art sprites and 3D environments to bring us a JRPG inspired title which promises to feature turn-based combat with real-time movement, dodging, and a flexible combo system. Everything we see in the trailer looks and sounds really cool, and that would normally be enough for the title to make it on my list. But SacriFire is also developed by the people who made Regalia of Men and Monarchs, which I really liked and I covered a long time ago. Cyber Knight's Flashpoint is on this list because it reminds me of the Shadowrun Returns series, in as much as it's a turn-based tactical RPG set in a dystopian cyberpunk future where you gather a group of underground mercenaries and engage in heist missions. While there will be no magic in this one, Flashpoint does promise a lot of customization options, some base building, as well as a fair bit of impact when it comes to story and character development depending on your in-game choices. While the footage may not look very polished, keep in mind this is pre-alpha footage and I also expect it to be improved by final release. Monomyth is a successful Kickstarter project I backed and promises to be a real-time first-person open-world dungeon crawler harkening back to the titles like Arx Fatalis and Ultima Underworld. You'll be able to wield various weapons, shields and spells, as well as use stealth to make your way through a sprawling ancient fortress. The game will feature interactive environments which will allow for all manner of emergent solutions to various problems and many possible builds to approach it with. Also, it features bread baking, so that's a massive plus for me. But best of all, you can still play the demo right now. Metal Slug Tactics is on this list simply because of my love for the Metal Slug arcade series. That being said, its Steam description says it's a turn-based tactical RPG. But to be honest with you, I'm not really sure what those RPG elements might be. Everything that's been shown placing this one squarely into the turn-based tactical combat genre exclusively, like Into the Breach for instance. Time will tell what or if it actually has some proper role-playing aspects, but even if it does not, I'm still gonna play it once it comes out because it looks hella dope. And now let's look back at some of the titles from past year's lists and see where they are in development right now. The Iron Oaths developers posted a new combat gameplay video and dev update on the 3rd of January of 2022, in which they say they're planning a new demo for the game during February and a full release sometime during the first quarter of this year, which would normally mean by March. I'm super hopeful and looking forward to this title because I've had it on this yearly list since I began making them back in 2020. Dark Envoy is still being worked on, the last dev update happening in December of 2021. The game is slated for release in 2022 and that's all I got. Wigmund, Return of the Hidden Knights, went into early access in February of 2021 and I played it a bit in April of the same year. It was fun but still needed work back then, which looks like has happened in the meantime because it just got a massive content update on the 18th of January 2022. SKALD Against the Black Priory had a demo released in the summer which I streamed and enjoyed quite a bit. It seemed to be quite challenging and development has been continuing on it. SKALD will most likely go into early access later this year. Call of Saregnar got a public demo released at the very end of last year. I played it and it's great. A video about it will be up soon on the channel. Death Trash went into early access in August of 2021 and it's everything it was advertised to be, but just not content complete. I covered the early access and you can find a link to my video in the description. Happy to report that development has been continuing on Broken Roads and this Outback set Fallout is expected to be released sometime this year. SacriFire got released in October and I have not played it, but it looks really cool and the Steam reviews seem to like it as well. Zoria, Age of Shattering has gone into a bit of a cone of silence after releasing a new demo in the summer. However, I have it on pretty clear terms from the devs that the game will go into early access sometime this year. Colony Ship, a post-Earth role-playing game, went into early access in April of 2021 and the developers are steadily adding new areas of content to it. I played it when it was released and it's a stupendous title and I'm looking forward to playing the entire thing once it's done. Black Geyser, Couriers of Darkness went into early access in the summer of 2021 and I have not played it, so I can't say anything about its quality, but the Steam reviews seem to like it. Small Saga's development is continuing with its last dev update happening in November of 2021. The dev is hopeful to release the game this year. Encased was released in September of 2021 and since I haven't played it since very early in its early access, I can't attest to its full release quality. However, the Steam reviews seem to like it. This has been my list of upcoming titles to keep an eye on this year. What are you looking forward to? Let me know in the comments. Hey there watcher who's still watching, thank you very much for sticking around. If you enjoyed this video, then please do me a gigantic favor and like it and comment on it in order to feed the algorithm. I also have a Patreon page, so I would deeply appreciate you checking that out if you have coin to spend. I've been Steven Hansons, thank you very much for watching, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you relatively soon.